Lanier, acclaimed 19th-century poet of the Old South. Lanier is the lover of literature, symphony, opera, the visual arts, history, and international travel, who, after his first few English classes in college, entertained the prospect of becoming a university literature professor. Lanier is the humanist whose mother, a middle school English teacher, read to him from Greek mythology and the English classics when he was a child. He enjoys the challenge of mulling life's deepest questions and formulating tentative answers. He is repulsed by brutish masculine tendencies and crass commercialism when they manifest themselves in the world of competitive sports. The soft-spoken Lanier champions the cause of the weak and the vulnerable. He loves the blossoms of spring and the grace of well-proportioned human bodies. Finally, Red is the fun-loving performer, giving his all, playing his part in a minstrel show, singing on air with an old-time string band, and telling stories to Dodgers radio audiences during lulls in the game. He delights in surprising his listeners by integrating colorful, homespun barbarisms into the world of sport. Red rarely turns down an invitation for public performances on stages, in auditoriums, or in front of church congregations. He loves making playful appearances on television and radio quiz shows, and, on special occasions, leading the witty colloquy at his country club. On a midsummer evening in 1942, Red Barber stood near home plate at an Ebbets Field that had been converted into a blood donor recruiting contest between the Dodgers and the Braves. The popular radio play-by-play announcer was officiating a ceremony in which all members of both teams lined up to pledge Red Cross blood donations to save the lives of American troops. Periodically during the play of the game, Barber gently but urgently summoned his radio listeners at home to schedule their appointments at the local Red Cross blood donation center. That is, until phone lines were flooded and the upcoming scheduling cycle was overbooked with volunteers. Barber later officiated a more dramatic ceremony on Wall Street before a crowd of 5,000. A World War I veteran who had been wounded on the Hindenburg Line lay on a hospital bed on a platform in front of the Sub-Treasury building to give his 12th blood donation. Over a loudspeaker, the crowd heard its favorite broadcaster announce a play-by-play of medical staff as they collected blood from the veins of a war hero. In 1942, most Americans had never been asked to let strangers draw blood from their arms. Barber's calm and authoritative narration explaining the simple process both soothed and inspired his listeners. Later in his career, Red frequently claimed that his Red Cross blood donor drives on radio were the most satisfying broadcasts of his life. He realized on that wartime evening at Ebbets Field that this was what the mass media were made for. The image of the talented Red Barber announcing play-by-play bloodletting for the sake of his country was one source of our decision to undertake the first complete biography of the broadcaster's life. The story of his 84 years on Earth, exactly centered in the 20th century, contains compelling and timely resonance for 21st century listeners. Barber's radio and television broadcast career was animated by a rigorous ideal of media's civic responsibility, a vision that has been compromised so persistently since his time that most Americans today cannot fully appreciate the implications of what our culture has lost. Also contributing to his compelling story was his life-changing near-death experience in 1948 that forced the 40-year-old Barber to ask himself the challenging questions that both troubled his conscience and motivated his pursuits for the rest of his life. What am I here for? What should I be doing with my gifts and talents? The same values that propelled Barber as a broadcaster also animated the second and third stages of his professional life after his forced retirement from full-time sports broadcasting at 58. This book examines, for the first time, Red's subsequent career as an author, journalist, public speaker, and lay preacher.